Hello, welcome to my second video on this watch. This is me reassembling my first Seiko. I'm just putting the centre wheel in there. That's got its own bridge, so that's quite the easiest one a lot to do. And what I'll do on this, as I put it together, I'll lube all the parts. When I say lube, it's the tiniest spot of oil, it really is. And obviously you check as you go at all times because they have to be free. You won't accept any binding at all. It all reflects in how the watch runs, if it runs at all. So that's the third wheel in, and that's the grease I'm using. Yeah, it's expensive, but you use a tiny bit, about a full stop, if that. And that's the barrel. That contains a spring. I've been working on them as well because Seiko don't recommend you change them, but I think it's pretty standard in the watch world to do that. And I've got some tools to do it, and I'm going to make a video of how I got the spring in there. That's the click that's going on. That's the easiest click in the world. So much better than it's almost easier than the Swiss watches. That's the third wheel going in there. Escapement. I've learned to always put the escapement in first because that's sort of buried. The clock, the watch is dialed down now, so the escapement wheel is down. And what I've done there, I've got all the wheels in. This is at fast speed, by the way, because I want to keep the videos at about 30 minutes. So all the wheels are in. There's only 4 wheels, but that's pretty much, depends on what complications you have. That's the standard for a watch. I've got oops here because I've been trying to get the plate on. And I forgot that. I forgot the second wheel, the fourth wheel. It just, I knew there was something wrong, but then I spotted it, obviously. So it's a bit of a tricky one. You've got to line all the pivots up. The pivots are only at 0.2, 0.3. And the arbors, the axles, if you like, are very hard, but they're very brittle. So if you're trying to put that top plate down, they're not lined up in the top or bottom, they're going to snap off. So sometimes they go on, boom, I've had them, I've just dropped them on, perfect. Sometimes they don't. The escapement wheel, with that being the lowest one, that tends to be the worst. So you've not only got to line all the pins up, you have to make sure that all the gears are meshed correctly and they're all sitting together okay. It's fiddly, but it is quite rewarding when you do it. It's a nice feeling. This one don't take me too long, to be fair. Sometimes you really struggle, you end up taking it apart and all that. But I seem to get it okay here. I use the bigger holes, the screw holes, and on this case the arbor for the barrel to line up because it has to be perfectly aligned, the two plates. So I've got that in there. But what you can see, when it's all together, I'm just checking for movement there on all the wheels. When it is all done, the slightest, you don't even move it, it's just pressure on the barrel wheel will make the escape wheel spin really quickly. So it just shows you that's the gearing. You know, this gear's geared down and down and down. They run for 30 hours, something like that, 30, 40 hours. So that barrel will only rotate probably only about 2 or 3, well, probably I think it's 4 times in that time period. So it's moving very slow. Excuse me, I'm just doing a drink of coffee. It's moving very slow, but there's a lot of torque there. So that's why it's a quite a thick arbor. But you can see I've got it on. Everything's spinning as it should. You're looking for any tight spots, or when you let go, it winds down at a constant rate, steady. No, if it winds down slow, then it suddenly stops. There's something wrong. Take it all apart, find out where it's wrong. There's dirty gears. There could be more than one things. So you're doing that as you go. That I don't have a problem with that anymore. It's fiddly. The next bit, what's going to come up after this is a bit awkward. Again, the escapement, the pallet forking. That's the fork what engages the escapement wheel. It looks a bit like an anchor. Some people actually call it that. Certainly on clocks. That's it's tricky. But for the moment, I'm just getting them on, making sure they're all. I don't nip them all. I wind them down until they sort of bite, and then do the rest. Can't check, and then then make sure it's all locked up before I've done. And when I've done that, again I check. Just check your end shake as well. You can get wear on the barrel because it's quite high torque. So this one is fine considering it's quite an old bird. So it's just more of the assembly. This is the ratchet wheel that's going on. That bolts directly to the arbor, which is a spindle for the mainspring. So that when that turns the axle, if you like, in the barrel, tightening your tightening your spring. Excuse me, your mainspring. So this is all this is it puts the power back. That's the wrecking pole. That's the sort of magic fingers, and we call them for SEIKO. They're exclusive. Well, they're very famous. What SEIKOs are made for. They're not exclusive now because I believe some people copy them. But that goes to and fro, and that pulls the wheel, which in turn it's got a reducer wheel, which in turn is a ratchet wheel times the winds the watch it for you. There's no manual winding on this watch. You can't wind it up traditionally. It just goes by movement. There's a big rotor, big quadrant weight what spins around and rotates that when you're doing about your everyday business. That's that. Okay, so what you can see me doing there, I'm just testing that winding. You can see it working a treat. Obviously it's high speed, but as that's connected to your rotor, like a big quadrant weight, what spins around when you do your daily stuff, and that's how it winds it. It's simple. Wind it one way, it moves it, it pulls the wheel, wind it the other way, it pushes it, so your mainspring is constantly wound from one direction, which all it can be. So now the fun bit, this is the pallet fork, what's coming in now. And pallet forks, this is dialed down, the watches, and it always goes to the bottom of that. So it's tricky, because as I said, the shafts are very hard but very brittle. So you've got to get it in and you've got to get it level. When the problem is you line it up with the bottom pivot hole, and then when you try and put the bridge on, it's not sitting level. It's sort of, it's naturally, it sort of slopes down because you've got like a long fork on it. So you can't just fit it over the top. You have to encourage the top pivot to find its home. So I'll get it in there. You can see it's not too hard to get it in that hole, although you never can show because it's down a bit of a well. And then when you put your bridge on, if you looked at that now, it's sort of leaning slightly. So we've got to put that's the bridge I'm putting in now, and you can see the purple spot in the end, the tip. You've got to get that in and sort of encourage it to move forward, and it's fiddly. It's not hard, it's fiddly. But what you can do, and I've done it twice, is when you start tightening it up, you think you've got it, you're checking every time that it's going left and right, and you start to get tight, you can snap the pivot off, because that's what they do. Any stress, they snap off. And you just need to just line it up and just keep tightening each screw side by side, checking it a little more, because when you start getting anything above where it just starts to bite, you're putting stress on that pivot, and it won't take it. So it's all a question of you just have to take it back off again, get it right. But all good fun. And this, typically it takes me about 4 or 5 times. There's no art to it. It's not hard because once you've experienced it, you just got to go gentle at all times. And even when your patients are running a bit thin, when they're not, when it's just not happening, it's just walk away because I do. You definitely get heavier handed, a little bit more force, a little bit like, oh come on, get it in, and see me wriggling it there. I'm spinning it because I shouldn't be able to spin it. That pallet fork, its job is to lock the drivetrain, and the balance wheel opens it and allows it to move on one. So I shouldn't be able to do it. It means that the fork is not engaging, so it's not set correctly. So take it off, as I've just done, put it back in again because you haven't got it right. as long as you respect it, as I say, it's fiddly, but not particularly hard. It's not like the mainspring, which we'll come on to, the balance wheel spring, what we'll come on to next. It's just a question of taking it out. There's a right way about this. You've always got the exit pallet as it is on the sort of offset to the line of the pallet fork, and that's always to your left because that's the exit pallet on its way out. I've never had a watch what turns the other way. I believe there is some out there. I think some SEIKOs do actually, but I could be wrong. So I did manage to get it in, and what I've done now is put some wind in it. I've turned that ratchet wheel, put some tension in the screw, so that's ready to run. That watch is. And what I do to test the pallet fork, I just give it a slight flick. I'm simulating that I'm the pallet wheel now, the balance wheel. And this little jewel, what hits that, and you're looking. That's exactly what you're looking for. A nice sharp snatch, because that's exactly what happens. That's what keeps your balance wheel running. That snatch, that pushes your balance wheel. It's called an impulse, and that's well named because it is. It doesn't push. It just gives it a little bit of an impulse. Very, very similar to a pendulum of clock. That gets a little impulse at each stroke. That's why a pendulum never stops on a wind clock. But that's just enough to throw your balance wheel one way. The spring returns it, releases the pallet fork, and that throws it another way. That's what I did there. So now that's good. So this is a cruncher. I've released a video earlier on this bit, so you probably, if you've watched my others, you've seen it before. That's the balance wheel on the balance cock, and all ready to go in. And I hate these, and these hate me. I have been here many times. I've got many balance wheels. I've knackered up because that hairspring is the most delicate thing. And if you struggle getting it in and out, and you're pulling it in, and you start to deform it, and it's not good. But I'm getting that in. I am learning, and I've got some visual references now when I put it in from where it's got to be, and I'm definitely better than what I used to when I started, which I needed to be. A little bit more confident with it. This one doesn't go in too bad, and it starts going up straight away. So it's nice at this point. It's running. It's always a satisfying moment when this happens. And you go. Put the screw in, and you will see it shortly. It does tighten up. It resees. The watch is running. That's a casualty of my inexperience putting these in. It's the hardest thing I've had to learn about Seikos is the balance wheel, but you've just got to push through it. And I say I've got some references now. I know where the wheel sits. Where it just protrudes from the centre wheel on one area. So I use that as a guide. Get the bottom pallet, get your bottom pivot in first. Drop the cock down flat on the top. I've been lining it up with the pins and the screw hole where I am now, and it just sits wonky because it's not flat. So you leave them till last. So you just observe them so you know you're lined up. And that does run eventually. Bit of a relief. Stop there. It's not right because as there's probably watchmakers. Well, if there were some professional watchmakers watching this, they'd be horrified that I'm bump starting it with a metal screwdriver, whacking the balance wheel to get it going. But I'm learning. So that's I had to move it then. So I just loosen it and just reseat it again. It's not quite. It's how sensitive they are, and it don't. It's just not quite sat comfortable. So I loosen it and then tighten it, just so it reseats. I tried it a couple of times. If it didn't work, I'd have to took it off and investigated further. But it does. That's the little jewel on there. You've got one at top, one at bottom. That's behind a coloured die shock. They are the tiniest things. You have to take them out, clean them, and put a little bit of lube in. I've lost quite a few, but we did it. So I've gone up now. This is obviously dial side. Back up is done. You can see the watch running through there. That's the date disc. That's fits on there, and obviously it goes round once. Well, it indexes once every 24 hours, and this is how they do it. Quite an ingenious system, really. I was dreading it when I first started working on it, but it's it, it's straightforward. As this is the beauty of SEIKO. It is quite simple, sensitive, but simple. And I do now. I'll put it in. I have to put that in, and then the guide after, the guard. Uh, just you just got to get it so it works all the time. I did struggle keeping it secure. I'll put it on in a second, and then it's just a question of pinning it all down, fitting it in with the jumpers. They're like spring-loaded levers, well, a spring-loaded lever what snaps into in between the teeth, so it locks it in under the window. So when it does index, it just jumps, and this jumper locks it into position. But I'm just at this point, I'm just glad it's running. But also, and I did notice this on playback, this and it's my editing. If you look at that balance wheel, that's a brass one, and the one you saw earlier was a silver one. So I must have had some problems with this and swapped it. I bought two silver ones off eBay, and it doesn't matter if they're silver, it doesn't matter, but they are three spoke, so they must be slightly different. I couldn't get them running. They're on the side here while I scratch my head, wondering what to do. So, but my next video, I am not going to do a build up, strip down and build up again. I'm going to do try some different aspects to it because it goes on for so long, and my continuity is not very good because you forget what you're doing, and you get so much video that at the end of the day you just want to put a 30-minute video out there, and it gets a bit it gets difficult to do. So I'm just going to do little shorts while I build up my experience with the watches, because I'm not that experienced enough just to build what. If you watch the sort of semi pros, they'll just do it and it runs. I'll do it and it don't run. I have to take it off again, and it makes video work hard because you just puts it back. So we'll see anyway. Oh, what am I doing now? I've got the going train in. I should be. That's just the setting lever for the keyless works at the top there. That is like a spring-loaded cover plate, and it keeps all that. Where the stem is. Don't forget, this watch doesn't wind up. What you do, you can quick set your date, and you can alter the time, but that's all you can do on this one. And that's because there's a small pinion underneath that, a small gear if you like, and that's holding all that in. And the snapping when you pull the crown out, and you can feel it snap into position. It's all part of that circuit, really. I'm also going to try next time with two cameras. I've done an experiment on one. I did one small job on another watch and used two cameras. So I'm going to have a go with that, see how that interacts, and then I'll let you know. But if you want to see anything, you're quite welcome to put something in the comments. I'd welcome that. So the date this is back in, and again, a professional, it notices I've got metal tweezers on things like that. You don't. I've got wooden ones now, so I use them. But what I did there, that jumper there on the right, that fits into you can see those teeth all the way around, like shark fins. Well, that jumper just snaps in between that, so it locks it into place. It doesn't turn. That's why they don't turn quickly. That when the actuator turns it, it turns it one of those tooths, and that jumper slides up the tooth and then drops down into its position. It is there, locking the date plate under the window. Hopefully, that's just the guard on there, the shield, the cover that holds everything down, safe and secure. I didn't realise it at the time, but it also holds the disc down as well. The date disc, it also secures that a little bit. Uh, just getting it all in, and then you've got to test and making sure it does. I've had these on this watch actually. You get it all right, it's working fine. You put the dial on, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but sometimes it doesn't work very well, and I have to go again. I'm wondering if I've got the dial a bit too low, and it's causing too much friction. Uh, but this is, as I said earlier about going back. This is a job I've gone back to quite a few times. Putting those screws in there, they're the tiniest screws. They're lovely to fit. They are. I do quite enjoy the small ones. I think it's because my concentration levels go up. The tricky buggers, but a couple of turns and they're in. And then I'm ready to test. If you look up the top near the 31, the date of the 31st, where the stem is, you'll see the sliding clutch there, and that's got the teeth. What else? Do the quick set. The quick set is setting the date quickly rather than keep winding the watch through midnight. You could just manually set the crown to engage that sliding clutch, and when you turn it, it pushes it. It takes over from the normal date adjustment, which is down at the bottom on the sort of 8 o'clock position, but it's under the plate now. You just sync that to midnight, and obviously it changes on the hour. Let's have a look where we've got. I think that's all in. Apologies for my back of my head shot. I think what I've done there is those are tiny screws, and the screws in SEIKOs you get more of a mix than you do others, i.e., different sizes. There's a couple of very small diameter thread, but different size heads, and I've got them mixed up. And I think I've noticed they weren't quite sat right, and all this standing up, and you're not going to put anything over the top. I have to be careful with SEIKO now. When I pull them down, I keep the specialised ones, the smaller ones, in a different tray. Sort of theme the tray. So I've got different segments in my tray. So one will be keyless, one will be the main works, which is great for screws, but that means I don't wash them, because obviously when I wash them, they all go in together. That's when you lose them. So I'm just being aware of that. I can always look at the video, of course, but that's a lot of faffing. When you're on it, when you're stripping down and bolting up, you don't want to change that. So we're getting all ready now, just to test. And then once that's done, it's the face, and away we go. But so far so good. There's nothing too bad. I'm running this at normal speed actually. This one, looking at it, this is not speeded up. That's took like 5-6 minutes just to put that plate on. That's how much fiddling about you're doing. But this, as I said, I don't know if I said actually, this is around early 70s. I think it's about 74, 76. This one. So it's an old gal. She's been around. But there you go. Okay. So I'm starting to put the dial on now. That date went in okay. You see me check it, and put the rest of the screws in, and that's the dial. I have messed a few dials up as well. I've tried to clean them, and everyone tells you don't clean them. But me being me, I had a go, and I've just left it. Sometimes I'll get a very light soapy solution and a cotton bud and give them a wipe. They are a pain because a lot of people like what they call patina. What everyone calls patina, I call rust. But it's you can't do anything about it. So it's not as for some of the dials I've got. It is okay. So it's just blown down and wiped down. And this is a bit I struggle with a bit sometimes. Just the final bit getting it in case because I am a bit too eager when I get a watch to pull it apart, and I don't. I need to learn how it goes in the case. When I say learn, which way the rings go round and how it all fits together. I wasn't sure if this needed a dial washer, that brass washer I just put in. On the plan, it doesn't show one. It shouldn't have done one, but it's just fiddling now, and it it was fiddly. Just getting it secure because if it's not right, when you've got it in your wrist, and they take a lot of hammer, a lot of movement, a lot of banging and knocking, and if it's not right, it's going to come off. So I'm just trying to figure a way out to get it in. Excuse me. I'm just taking the stem out now. I'm making that look quite a lot more hard work than what it actually is. Excuse me. And then get it ready for the case. It is running by this point. I took the jewels off and get them some lube and just messed around with it a little bit and tried to get it right. I'm wondering if that might be a new balance wheel actually. What I put in, I did buy one off eBay and I've mucked around with them. I've got a bit lost with these SEIKOs, and that's my own fault because I'm working on too many or pulling one apart for spares, and sometimes they're not exactly right. It's just learning. And this is the whole video from back getting the watch to getting it finished. It took a long time, several months, and so I'm going back to videos from when it was initially recorded a while ago. My continuity might be uh, room for improvement. So you can see that's my mat with a green circle on it to keep it in frame, so I never get the watch out of frame. Oh, and it's come back. What I've done there, I put the watch in, put the stem in. I'm just trying to learn that, just trying to work out that ring, which does go in there, and that does secure it all. It was all a bit loose, and if I'm honest, it did take me a couple of attempts to get it right. I have bought. I'm waiting for the delivery. Little dial feet, because some of my dials haven't got little dial feet. They stick on the back like a little mini drawing pin, and those pins are bolted in to the base plate. They're a lot better. And I've also got wooden tweezers because when I'm cringing, I'm using metal. Really point. Those tweezers are very, very sharp. Sensitive like the dial, so you were going to scratch it. But I've got wooden ones now, so for dial work. It's all about learning, and this channel is about my adventures in learning to be a competent watch. It's not the watchmaker is not the right term because you're not making the watch. But watch repair is a bit pants. So hobbyist, I don't like that word either. Okay, here we are. This is it. It's a finished article. Sorry, a bit of a jump there, but I want to get the videos down to about 30 minutes. I need to work on my consistency. I know that. The next watch, I'm going down the same path. I've got lots of bits. So I shall work on my next video a bit more smoother. Hopefully the editing will be. This is it. It's all working. It's fine. you know, wear it out a few times, and you feel like you've got $1 million watch on your wrist when you've built it yourself. Every part of that I've had and had it in my hands, worked on it, and it's running really well. Beta of about one, should be less, but it starts on its own, which is an indication. Date works. I've had a load of watch straps in from China. There's some quite nice ones really for the money. And that's it. So, as I say, my next video, I'm going to try and work on the continuity a bit better. But anyway, it's there for your enjoyment. Please like if you liked it. If you didn't like it, still like it. And I hope you enjoy it. And that's it. Okay, thank you very much, and goodbye.